Hi, it's Katrina. Some places are rumored to bring bad luck, misfortune, or worse, sometimes just by stepping there, or maybe from taking a small item as a souvenir. From a town whose name cannot be said out loud to properties with a long line of owners who endured great suffering, here are 9 of the world's most cursed places. Number 9. Oak Island. If you're a History Channel fan, chances are you've caught at least a few episodes of this series called The Curse of Oak Island. The show follows brothers Rick and Marty Lagina's search for treasure that is supposedly buried on Oak Island, which is located off the coast of Nova Scotia. According to various legends, the treasure can be several different things. A story from the 1700s says that a dying sailor from the crew of the notorious Captain Kidd said that a treasure worth £2 million had been buried on the island. What was the treasure? It's hard to say. Some believe it might be a pirate hoard, like he said, or the Ark of the Covenant, or even the Holy Grail brought to the New World by the Knights Templar to keep it from harm. A teenager named Daniel McGinnis found a depression in the land that was consistent with the sailor's story, and he and 2 friends started digging. They discovered a man-made shaft with wooden platforms every 10 feet, down to about 90 feet. Now known as the Money Pit, the shaft's exact location has been lost. Rumor has it that the treasure is cursed and that it will finally be discovered only after 7 treasure hunters have died on Oak Island. Many have risked life and limb in the pursuit of treasure. 6 people have perished so far, including a worker who was killed when a boiler exploded in 1861, another who fell down a shaft in 1897, and 4 family members who died from inhaling toxic fumes inside of a shaft in a 1965 event that came to be known as the Rest Stall tragedy. There is no documented evidence of someone cursing the treasure, and although the Lagina brothers could possibly be next in line for fulfilling the curse, they're investigating as safely as possible. There seem to be booby traps at various depths, filling tunnels and shafts with water, preventing hunters from digging further. So far, the most exciting thing dug up over the years was a stone with indecipherable inscriptions, believed to hold some type of code. Old coins and a lead cross with a loop at one end, perhaps belonging to the Knights Templar. Number 8. Beverly Hills, Bermuda Triangle. The affluent neighborhood of Beverly Hills in California is famous for its glamour, but it seems that in certain places there are some dark forces. The Beverly Hills intersection of Linden and Whittier is home to a series of unfortunate accidents, tragedies, and crimes. Its alleged curse began as early as 1946, when the famed eccentric pilot Howard Hughes lost control of his brand new plane and attempted an emergency landing. He missed the street, his intended target, and instead crashed into a home, suffering lifelong injuries. Then, in 1966, William Jan Barry of the band Jan and Dean got into a horrific accident and remained in a months-long coma afterward. In an ironic twist, the band was known for their hit song, Dead Man's Curve, at the time. The most recent suspected curse-related incident occurred in 2010, when a hit-and-run driver struck Hollywood publicist Ronnie Chasen at the ill-reputed intersection. The accident rekindled the collective memory of past incidents at the site, and once again raised the question of whether the Beverly Hills Bermuda Triangle is cursed. Number 7. Colobrado. From the outside looking in, the hilltop town of Colobrado in southern Italy seems quaint, perfect for a postcard. But as you already know, things aren't always as they seem. Locals are so afraid of Colobrado they won't even say its name out loud, instead referring to it as that town. When people hear the name, they touch wood as a safeguard against anything bad happening. It's known as the town of misfortune, and it's said that the curse is as old as the village itself. But evil didn't fully take over until the 20th century. During the 1940s, a lawyer who had never lost a case said, "May the chandelier fall down if I am not telling the truth." Sure enough, it did. Locals have also passed down tales of witchcraft and sorcery for generations, as well as women who controlled the village using black magic. The town was a place of bad omens. Colobrado's residents have capitalized on the town's unlucky reputation by hosting an annual play called A Night in That Town. Upon arriving, guests are given an amulet to protect themselves against misfortune. Villagers dress up as witches and supernatural beings. Be sure to visit if you're in the area. Just don't say the name of the town out loud, and I hope I didn't just get in trouble for telling you about this. And now for number 6, but first let me know if you believe in cursed places in the comments below. And big shout out to I Am Taco for clicking on these videos and for Kazuma222 who loves it. Thanks guys! Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already and give this video a thumbs up to let me know if you would like to see more content like this. Number 6. Gettysburg. The historical Civil War battlefield at Gettysburg in Pennsylvania is one of the most haunted and cursed places in the U.S. In addition to countless ghost sightings, anyone who disturbs the site, especially by taking rocks or stones from the battlefield, risks getting cursed, especially if you take something from a hollowed-out site called the Devil's Den. One man who visited Gettysburg with his wife in 2006 took 3 small stones as souvenirs. He then broke his arm, lost his job and then his house, and went to prison for 9 years. His wife, who left him, suffered from ongoing health problems. He read about the curse in prison, so when he finally got out, he found the rocks and mailed them back to Gettysburg along with an apology for taking them. Someone else stole a rock and a twig and also said that they suddenly went through horrible times, including an injury on the job and relationship problems. The park has received a number of packages with no return address. The writers apologize and ask for the stolen rocks to be returned to their original place. Whether or not the rocks are cursed, taking them is against park rules. It's best to err on the safe side and leave Gettysburg undisturbed. Remember, this parkland is sacred ground, and if you get caught in the act of trying to take something, it is at least a $100 fine, which I'm sure the cursed would have happily paid. Have you ever been here? Let me know in the comments below. Number 5. Lalbagh Fort. In 1677, at the height of the Mughal Empire, Prince Muhammad Azam ordered the construction of Lalbagh Fort in what eventually came to be modern-day Dhaka in Bangladesh. 15 months after construction began in 1678, he traveled to Delhi to join his father, Emperor Aurangzeb. So he left the temple's construction to Dhaka's new governor, Shaista Khan. Khan continued building the structure until 1684, when suddenly his daughter and Prince Muhammad Azam's fiancée, Pari Bibi, died. Believing his daughter's death was an omen and that the fort was cursed, he stopped all construction and it remains half-finished to this day. Prince Muhammad Azam did not object to Khan's decision. The fort's popularity declined after Shaista Khan left Dhaka when the capital was relocated to Murshidabad. It was abandoned at the end of the Royal Mughal period and was subsequently leased to the government. Today, the Archaeological Department of Bangladesh manages the fort, which is one of the country's major tourist attractions, seeing as many as 3 million visitors annually. They're not afraid of the curse. There are 3 structures within the fort, including Pari Bibi's mausoleum, which is a marble room with her tomb in the center. There's also the Diwan, or Hall of Audience, and the Qilla Mosque. Underneath the fort, there are a series of complex mazes which were meant to cause intruders to become lost and starve to death, and which linked Lalbagh Fort to the now ruined Zinzira Fort, which was located on the other side of the Buriganga River. Visitors are only allowed inside the Diwan, a 2-story structure that contains a small museum of Mughal artifacts. Number 4. Chambal River. The 620-mile-long Chambal River in northern India is a wildlife sanctuary containing unpolluted water and rare species. It owes its pristine condition and abundant wildlife to its history as a cursed place, which effectively kept people away from ancient times until relatively recently. In the story of ancient India, the Pandava brothers witnessed their queen, Draupadi, unclothed along the banks of the Chambal. Out of anger, she cursed the river, and anyone who drank from it would be overcome with an unsatisfying thirst for vengeance. Most people avoided living near the river because of the curse, although deviant types took refuge there, including people seeking revenge or fleeing from the law. The last of the outlaws cleared from the area during the 1970s. The limited human presence along the Chambal River spared its waters from the ill effects of pollution and other man-made disturbances. It's home to numerous exotic creatures such as the gharial crocodile, Ganges river dolphin, rare turtles, jackals, and hundreds of bird species. Unfortunately, the alleged curse is no longer keeping people away the way it used to. Its unspoiled environment, which flourished precisely as a result of human absence, is one of the things attracting people to it, including poachers, illegal sand miners, and construction projects and factories. Number 3. Palazzo Dario. Also known as Ca Dario and the House That Kills, the Palazzo Dario is a 500-year-old Gothic palace in Venice, Italy. According to legend, anyone who owned it or stayed there for more than 20 days either took someone's life, lost their own, or went bankrupt. An aristocrat named Giovanni Dario built the house in 1479. After inheriting the home, his daughter, Marietta, drowned in the Grand Canal, while her husband, Vincenzo, and their son, Vincenzo Jr., also suffered tragic fates. Skipping ahead a few centuries, British scientist Radon Brown bought the house when its previous owner went bankrupt. 4 years later, in 1842, he ran into financial problems, and people learned of his relationship with another man. At a time when society largely shunned same-sex relationships, this erupted into great scandal. The home was then uninhabited for the first half of the 20th century. In 1964, world-famous opera singer and prospective buyer Mario del Monaco was in a car accident while en route to Venice to sign the contract for the house, causing him to reconsider the purchase. He apparently made the right decision because the house's subsequent owners all experienced a series of major misfortunes. The belief in the Palazzo Dario's curse persists today. Even local fishermen are careful not to cast their lines near it. Some believe that the curse stems from the house being constructed over a cemetery, which causes it to visibly lean to the right. Number 2. St. Louis Cemetery Number 1. St. Louis Cemetery Number 1 is the oldest cemetery in New Orleans. Established in 1789, it occupies one city block and holds the remains of roughly 100,000 people contained within over 700 tombs. Most of the graves are in above-ground vaults due to the city's high water level. While many historic figures and famous people are buried here, perhaps the most popular grave is that of a Creole woman named Marie Laveau, who was known as the Voodoo Queen of New Orleans. Laveau was born in 1801 as a free woman of color. She inherited much of her knowledge of voodoo from her mother and grandmother, who were also practitioners. In addition to voodoo, Laveau practiced fortune-telling and the occult and was knowledgeable in herbal remedies. She incorporated elements of African religion and culture and Catholicism into her practices. Laveau passed away in 1881 at 86 years old. Stories of paranormal encounters revolving around her started almost right away, with several reported sightings of her in the days after she died. Such sightings continue to this day, with people claiming to see Laveau walking through the cemetery, mumbling a Santeria voodoo curse as she strolls along. She often appears to be in a bad mood. When people try approaching her, she vanishes. It's said that those who scoff at or disapprove of Laveau's beliefs are sometimes scratched, pinched, or shoved to the ground by a mysterious invisible force. Others become unexplainably ill. There's also a large black voodoo cat with red eyes that appears from time to time. To avoid being cursed, visitors should never turn their back on the cat and should instead cross themselves 3 times and cautiously back away. Many people leave offerings like candles, flowers, voodoo dolls, and beads at Laveau's grave in hopes of receiving her blessings and perhaps to simply stay on her good side. Do you think Laveau curses people from beyond the grave? Let me know in the comments below. Number 1. Gaiola Island. Gaiola Island is located south of the Posilipo, Naples coast. At first glance, it looks like 2 separate islands because it's made of 2 large rocks connected by a thin stone arch. A hermit known as the Wizard lived on Gaiola Island during the early 19th century. Then, in 1871, a fishing company owner named Luigi Negri purchased the island and constructed a small villa on it. Negri sold the island when his company went bankrupt, and it was subsequently owned by many different people throughout the 20th century. All the island's owners suffered from great misfortune and tragedy, leading many to believe that it's cursed. During the 1920s, a Swiss man named Hans Braun was killed and his wife drowned nearby while she was swimming. Otto Grunbach, the next owner, perished from a heart attack at the island's villa, and the owner after him, Maurice Yves Sandoz, ended up in an asylum. After Gianni Agnelli, the owner of Fiat, bought Gaiola Island, several of his family members experienced tragedies. The disturbing events continued when the island came under the ownership of American industrialist Jean-Paul Getty, and an organized crime group kidnapped his grandson. The final owner lost his wife and ended up in prison. In 1978, the government acquired Gaiola Island, and it's remained uninhabited ever since. Today, it's part of a nearby marine reserve called the Gaiola Underwater Park, but I'm not sure I'd want to go snorkeling there given its history. Would you? Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!